Now, a campaign to highlight corruption and the breakdown of leadership within the police force has been started by Cape Flats communities. They plan to march to police stations and to Parliament tomorrow with a specific focus on the dismissal of former head of detectives Jeremy Vearey. Hailed as the hero behind the police's anti-gang unit, a response by the SAPS to the gang-ridden Cape Flats area, Vearey is admired by the community that he served. But he was dismissed after an SAPS disciplinary process following social media posts related to National Police Commissioner Kehla Sitole apparently being dismissed for bringing the SAPS into disrepute. So police authorities being plunged into internal conflict since the assassination of top cop Charles Kinnear in September last year. Let's get you some perspective on the story now. Author Bradley Steyn is an MK veteran whose close relationship with Vearey led him to work as an undercover spy for the ANC. He joins us now from Los Angeles in the United States. Bradley, it's great to talk to you again. Good evening to you there in Los Angeles. I think just to begin with, let's get some history in terms of your background and your relationship with Jeremy Vearey.
Well, good morning, Michelle, and thanks for having me on, and thanks to your viewers. Good morning, Mzansi Mwene. You know, my road with Jeremy Vearey and Andre Lincoln and MK started in my early 20s when Jeremy Vearey and Andre Lincoln recruited me into Umkhonto weSizwe, into the Department of Intelligence and Security in the Western Cape. My role was to infiltrate the security police, which myself and Neil de Beer were busy working for at that stage. And, you know, if it wasn't for the likes of these guys, you know, that were fighting at the tip of the assegai and, you know, not in Europe eating lobster and being wined and dined. These guys were at the forefront, you know. These guys were the guys that ultimately forced the apartheid government to the negotiation tables by putting so much pressure covertly and overtly into the streets of Cape Town specifically at that time. If you can recall, it was a very tumultuous time, and you know, these guys were you know, at the very tip of this action. And you know, today, all these years later, you know, they're being persecuted and ridiculed for you know, the good work that they've done, and it's just completely and totally appalling.
I mean, some great historical context there from you this morning, Bradley, but, you know, if we bring it back to present day, Jeremy Vearey, he's the person we're talking about for the purposes of this interview. Some incredible work that he's done much more recently, particularly for communities on the Cape Flats. You know, you just think of the anti-gang unit in the Western Cape and the incredible work that that unit, in some respects, was able to do. I mean, is there any credence in your mind, insofar as what you know? Is there any credence to this suspicion that they are being harassed because of what they know about top officials in the police force?
Absolutely, and you know, you're right to point out these incredible things that you know, Vearey has done and his team have done. You know, up until recently, we've just seen some of the hard work that's been done with the arrest of Nafis Modak and all these other underground and underworld actors that have been involved. You know, people have been terrorizing the Cape Flats and gangsters have been terrorizing the Cape Flats for many years. And, you know, here these Jeremy Vearey and his capacity back then, he was I think he was the cluster commander or the commander for Mitchell's Plain Police Station. And, you know, he's done so much for the communities, the people's general. And, you know, this this unfortunately stems back many, many, many years because, when we were directed by them to gather intelligence back in the, the late 80s, and, part of what we uncovered was who were the impimpies within the ANC that were working for the National Party government. And, we came across some highly classified intelligence, and we handed it over to Lincoln and Vearey, at that time, the intelligence, our intelligence commander was Comrade Natlala, and we handed over this intelligence of who these top brass or these top officials were within the ANC that were disrupting talks between the National Party government and, who had these ulterior motives. These guys are still active today, unfortunately. And, if you just have a look at the career of these guys and how much good work they've done over all these years, this is just something that has continued to follow them, because they won't put up with corruption, because they blow the whistle on more recent stuff. Obviously, they've looked into the grabber controversy, which Tolly has been involved with. And, they just are completely fed up with how poorly run SAPS has been over the last few years, over quite a few years.
Yeah.
And now they're speaking up about it. Peter Jacobs spoke up about it. There's a ton of competent people, to go far as mentioning IPID and Robert McBride was in charge of IPID, and they discovered a slew of corruption. But the problem is with Vearey and Lincoln and Jacobs and the likes is they've got too close to the top and figuring out who these organized crime elements are in bed with, and now they just pushing these liberation heroes in front of the bus. It's disgusting, and it's shameful that President Ramaphosa is just sitting on his hands and he's not doing something proactive about this.
Well, Bradley, I want to just, while we still have you on the line, because we are battling a bit with our connection to you there in Los Angeles. You mentioned to me off air that you will be coming back to South Africa. In terms of what you've just said, your own history when it comes to people like Jeremy Vearey, the fact that so much of the Western Cape's drugs and gang problems can actually be very, very closely linked to what's unfolding within the police force itself. These are all issues that are currently unfolding, but they have a historical context that you are well aware of. Are you ruling out your own involvement in some way?
Well, Michelle, I don't really understand the context of your question. What I really would like to focus on today is try to see if we can get everybody that's out there in South Africa and in our communities. If you're in Cape Town specifically, if you can go to St. George's Cathedral at Green Market Square at 12 o'clock, where we are doing a peaceful protest in support of General Vearey to get him to be reinstated again, and then at police stations across South Africa, we're asking our community and those that believe in helping us as a larger community to get together and fight this corruption within SAPS, to please at 12 o'clock go to your local police station and go and picket. Hands off Vearey, hands off our generals. So, that's what I could speak about here today, Michelle, because it's a travesty, and we have to go stand up for these silent warriors that are constantly trying to do good work in SAPS, but SAPS has been captured, plain and simple.
Bradley Steyn, we look forward to welcoming you here in studio one of these fine days. Thanks for joining us this morning and this evening there in Los Angeles. Bradley Steyn is an author and an Mkhonto weSizwe veteran as we continue to unpack what's unfolding within the SAPS, but specifically in relation to people like Jeremy Vearey, a campaign now to highlight corruption and the breakdown of leadership within the police force is taking place in some Cape Flats communities. You heard there Bradley calling on people to gather in those places there, specifically in Cape Town.